there aren't that many saxophonists that are here and present. But yeah, I would say definitely an adversity I face. That's a really great question. I would say that, I don't know, the thing that got me to really practice and I guess really start transcribing really heavily was actually starting my senior year of high school. My girlfriend broke up with me and I was really devastated. And I remember one morning I woke up randomly in the middle of the night and I was like, oh, you know what? I'll just go to school and I'll practice until school starts. And I loved that, and that just became part of my routine. So I would wake up.
Getting stuff out of your system.
Yeah, for sure. And I would just wake up at 4 a.m, get to school at 5, and I would practice for 2 hours until jazz band started. And that would just be my transcribing time. You know, I transcribed so many solos that year. I think I transcribed about 50 solos that year just because I got really into it. And I think that really helped me as a player, and I made sure to transcribe them in a way that wasn't overly technical. So you know, I would transcribe the tune. I wouldn't write it down, but I would sit down and then I would analyze it and say, okay, on this part, what is the person thinking? And then I would analyze it once and forget about it, and then I would just practice it 10 times a day, every day for 2 weeks, just so I got it really ingrained. And I feel like that helped me a lot because there are certain ideas that will just come out where I know that they're from someone else. I might play it and be like, oh, that's definitely a Hank Mobley idea or a Coltrane idea, and I'm not necessarily sure where it comes from, but it's organic and I'm actually hearing it, versus thinking, oh, what's a good altered lick to play right now?
Or just trying to play the transcription note for note, which is not. You can transcribe an Elvin Jones solo, but it's not gonna. It's got to feel good. I guess that's the point. I don't, you know, I mean, how do you, or what is your advice to younger cats, because we are saturated with so much visual material now. Most of the cats I interview, they grew up learning to hear the music first before they learned to read it. So their ears were wide open.
Yeah.
And I just wonder, when it comes to, like, what would be your advice to cats about, here's the bottom line. Imperfection is perfection.
Oh yeah.
You believe
absolutely.
that? Talk about that. Because you know what? I don't care how many chops you have or what kind of facility you have. If you're up there showing that stuff off and playing it perfectly, but it doesn't feel good, then I'm staring at the wall.
Yeah.
So talk about that fine line. How have you traversed that?
Yeah, I would say for the young cats, first of all, transcribe. You know, transcribe as much as possible. Doesn't matter.
Why is that essential?
Because it's well, there's been a bunch of studies that jazz is a language.
Right.
When jazz or this type of music that's played where you're very communicative, when it's played, the part of your brain that activates is the part that's conducive to syntax. And so if the way that you learn a language isn't by, you know, sitting down and meticulously, mechanically working out all the things in the language, you learn a language by being around it, by listening, and so you've got to make sure to do that with the music. And whatever music you play, you got to make sure just to listen and transcribe no matter what. On top of that, transcribing is such a useful tool for everything. And eventually, you know, you'll reach a point where you don't need to transcribe, but it's still always fun. But transcription helps you with your tone, with your time, with your vibrato, with your ideas, with everything that is necessary to be a good musician. You can learn through transcribing.
What about your own individual sound?
Yeah, I would say even your own individual sound.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things I remember when transcribing, my professor would be like, you know, it's really funny, you transcribe and you play, but it always sounds like Misha playing someone else's solo.
I mean, you did it then.
Yeah, so you know, make sure that, sure, you want to try and emulate all the cats that you're hearing, but you got to make sure that at the end of the day you'll end up listening and learning all this stuff, so you can decide what you like and what you want to do. And if you don't have that basis of listening and transcribing and learning, that's really difficult.
You know, if you know, I'm just curious, like if Maynard and Dizzy and Blakey and Woody Herman, if those bands were still actively playing on a domestic touring circuit, if there were a lot of bands that were, and I'm talking about specifically jazz, or you lived in a city where there used to be like radio registry where you would get called to play jingles, commercials, studio dates. You could sing for your supper.
Yeah.
Would you be would you be on the road? I mean, here's the point is that when I interviewed Reggie Workman, he said to me that to play this music, he said, it's really, and you know this, you almost have to play like it's a matter of life and death. Meaning that you're playing beyond what you know. You're playing with an edge because it could be your last gig. That's the kind of mentality. You're on the edge. And my question is, like, you're here now and you're doing noble work and you're a beautiful cat. But if this was 1972, would you be on the road? I mean, if there were opportunities, there is no domestic touring circuit anymore.
Yeah.
There is no studio scene anymore.
Yeah.
So, but going back, is music a matter of life and death for you?
Absolutely, and I think no matter what, the whole point of music is to be vulnerable and to be in a situation that's scary and that does feel life or death. Because without that, it becomes very
mundane.
Yeah, mundane, and loses its shine. So of course, if I were in the 70s, I mean, I hope I would be lucky enough to be able to do some touring. I would love that. But I think even now it's still possible to, especially if you're in Arizona and you're going up to Phoenix as a saxophone player, it's very possible to make a living being a full-time saxophone player. I have a buddy up in Phoenix who's doing that currently, and sure, he's not playing mostly jazz. But
he has to play the gigs so he can sing for. He has to play the weddings and the bar mitzvahs.
Weddings. Yeah. But I think those gigs are always useful either way.
Yeah. No, you got a bigger bag of tunes.
Yeah,
that's the point is that you just hit it on the head. The cats the Jimmy Heaths and the Julian Priesters and the Johnny Griffins, those guys made a career playing the music that they got off on.
Yeah.
That is so hard to do now.
Yeah, I agree.
And I just wonder what as we sit here today, what is your proclamation about where you're headed with the horn? It seems to me like it would be a travesty to not have you on the bandstand at least a little more often. And what I found in my life is that when you put something out into the ether, normally it manifests. So, do you have any kind of not that you're going to move to Lawrence and start a jazz club, but what would you like? What would, in your mind's eye, what would make you happy musically?
Well, musically, I think the number one thing that would make me happy would be just playing with people that I get along with, and that I don't feel, super pressured to always be playing the coolest, hippest, newest things. Just that we can, get together on a bandstand and we might just play some standards for 3 hours, and I love that.
Burns.
Yeah,
I love it
for sure. And then on top of that, we can also play original tunes and do that. I just don't want to. I guess I wouldn't want to be in a situation that's very
formula.
Yeah, formula and not very competitive. That's not necessarily my.
Play with people that are better than you too.
Oh yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. People that are better than me and who can knock it out of the park, because you grow a lot in those situations.
What about? Before I let you go, are you hip to the album Stan Getz meets the Oscar Peterson Trio?
Yes, that's a
great
album.
So that's Herb Ellis, Ray Brown, Oscar, and Stan.
Yeah.
No drummer. Have you played in a drummerless band?
Yes, actually, my senior recital for my degree was drumless trio, guitar, bass, and me, and two amazing musicians that were much above my station. A guitar player, his name is Alex Frank. He's currently living in Kansas City and is teaching at the University of Kansas. And another one of my friends, the bass player, Ben Turber, one of the most talented people I ever met. He's my age and is already,
playing upright.
Yeah, he's playing upright. He also plays some electric, not very often.
But in that recital? Was he playing upright?
He was playing upright, yeah.
Can you just talk about, because to me, like, that's the beginning of, you got to take people by surprise.
Mm-hmm.
Now you need, I mean, when I listened to that album with Stan and Oscar,
Yeah.
Ray's like hitting up the bass a little bit sometimes. I mean, I just cannot believe how swinging that is.
Yeah, for sure.
And I just wonder about, like, if you can just talk about how you developed your own inner time feel. To me, that is key, because most of the times people are relying on the drummer to keep the time.
Yeah, for sure.
But the old cats,
yeah.
they had their own inner time.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I also think if you listen to some Elvin and Train albums, you know, the time is fluid. It doesn't have to be, you know, metronomically.
Floating through time.
Yeah, they're floating through time. It's just like a big person just kind of moving down the street this way. That's the way that their time feels.
Right.
But that's fine. I would say a big part of developing your own time feel, I definitely think is, you know, you got to practice with a metronome. Whether you like it or not, and the important thing when practicing with a metronome is don't just put your click on 2 and 4, put it on like the and of 2 and the and of 4, because then you really start internalizing the beat yourself. Another really great thing is making sure that you know your polyrhythms. So being able to do a bembe pattern and split it up into 6, split it up into 4, split it up into 3. You know, the bembe pattern is the basis for the ride cymbal, and so if you have that in your brain, that's really great. And I think if you're able to internalize that and you can hear that while you're playing, it's the same thing as having a drummer there with you, and that's really important.
Such an honor to hang with you. You want to just finish out with a tune?
Sure,
Yeah?
sure.
Misha Olarrea, what an honor.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, man.